location, the street fair run by the Student Government Association, the alumni tent, and also the bricks gathering will all be over there at that site throughout the afternoon. Men's and women's tennis, unfortunately, has been canceled for this afternoon due to the weather, but hopefully we can at least get that women's tennis match rescheduled for next week for their senior recognition. I do want to mention a few other items before we jump into getting our inductees up here. Kind of a shameless plug to get rid of some inventory, but it is new. These are some t-shirts that are available for $10 a piece. Some of you that are Crusaders and not Lions, you might not like as much the back, but I will just continue to refer to what Steve Schaaf said 2 years ago about Don Eads. He was a Crusader with the heart of a lion, and he made the bridge between two eras. Ultimately, what's on the front matters most is ENC. All right, and so if you're interested in that, we are selling those for $10 a piece. We also have these soccer scarves that do have two sides. One is the Lions, but if you're not so crazy about wearing that, we have the institutional logo on the other side. And so, depending on which one you prefer to display, depending on your era. Those are $15 a piece. And again, just would love to continue to have that be out. You see many of our athletes wearing their various apparel items, and certainly that helps. In November, we'll be launching our new athletic department booster club, the Pride. Much like the roundtable from years past, membership in that group will keep you informed of activities and accomplishments of our athletes, coaches, and teams, and also provide support for new and ongoing initiatives to keep the department on a path of continual growth and improvement. More info about this will be communicated using various mediums over the coming weeks. You'll also see flyers around about Bricks Fest, which is a group of alumni from the 70s and beyond, the Bricks. And last year we had a great time doing a number of things. This year there's an actual plan for that with a home men's basketball game against that team from up north. And then luncheon at Cask and Flagon, and then Friday a game, Boston Celtics game. So more information can be found on that flyer that's distributed around various places. We also have our Golf Classic. That'll be the third annual. Again, Tony Kabillion is the primary organizer of that, and we invite you to be a part of that. That registration's already open for foursomes and individuals, or also sponsorship opportunities. So we'd love to see you there. One other note is next year's Hall of Fame. This has been great. Those of you who've been around longer than I have, this has been a really good transition to this space and this environment. And yet, I think we need to take another step. And so, a supporter of our athletics department has stepped forward and asked to actually fund next year's Hall of Fame brunch that will be offered. We haven't figured out all the details of where and how exactly, but we'll actually be transitioning to a brunch, which gives us even that much more opportunity to linger and visit and have a chance to hear from our inductees. So be looking forward to new information about that. So now that all of those pieces are out of the way, right? Shameless plugs, all that. Let's turn our attention to why we really gathered here today, is to recognize those that are being inducted into the Carol F. Bradley Hall of Fame, and to hear from them, as well as a few others that have been asked to speak on their behalf. So we're going to start off, just so you know, inductees, we're not going in alphabetical order like has been the case the last two programs that we've honored you. This morning it's out of order of that, but it's so just be ready for that. Be flexible with me. All right. So first up is Mark Mullane, men's basketball, class of 1988. scored 1,940 points in only 3 seasons as a Crusader. As a first-year player, Mullane's 24 points per game average and 85-86 ranked in the top 10 of the NAI. Mark is also no stranger to the Hall of Fame, as he was inducted into the North Quincy High School Basketball Hall of Fame, and claim to fame is that he competed against NBA legend and NBA Hall of Famer Patrick Ewing. When Mark is not traveling internationally, working out, or walking throughout Quincy, he serves our community as an officer in the Quincy Police Department. Please welcome Mark as he comes to share with us.
I'm very humbled. I'm very honored. God moved me. I was in another school, and God moved me after 2 years in the school to this school. It helped me grow and develop as a person, as a Christian. The school was very instrumental to my growth and development as a human being and as a Christian. It's a privilege to play here. I just want to acknowledge Taker Carol Bradley, who acknowledge Steve Schroff, who was very knowledgeable. He's a very good coach. There was Jonathan Rice. I want to acknowledge my mother and father, my brother. Just so you know, I played tons of basketball growing up, but my father, fast baseball, 3-4 nights a week he'd go home from work. His pitch me would work out playing baseball. Was very honored and proud to have gone to school here and be a part of this community. I don't know what to really say, but thank you very, very much for the recognition.
Inductee is arguably the most accomplished baseball player in the history of ENC. He holds 3 program records for career runs scored, stolen bases, and hits. Those marks have held now for over a decade. While I could go on, it seems more appropriate if AJ's coach at ENC, Coach Todd Reed, comes and gives AJ a proper introduction. Following Coach Reed's comments, AJ will then come up with his comments to follow.
It's great to come back. I feel like this is home for me, even though I did not graduate from ENC. Graduated from one of our sister schools, but Whetstone and ENC is always home, and the reason for that are the two of the guys that are here today, and to be able to be here and take part in an induction for two people that really not just changed our program, but changed my life and my family's life is pretty special. The numbers speak for themselves, and just for the baseball guys that are here, 135 runs scored, 120 stolen bases, and 40 in a season, and 178 career hits. They say records are made to be broken. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. But Jeremy's going to talk a little bit about this. But what's really special about these two guys in the program is how they came to be here. And Jeremy will share a little bit more about that. But we had recruited AJ out of high school, and we didn't get him. He went to Liberty University his freshman year, and he aspired to play at the highest level, and we respected that, but we didn't give up. And so the next summer, I was hosting a baseball camp here, and I asked AJ to come and work the camp. Of course, I had ulterior motives. But asked him to come work the camp, and I tried to recruit him again. He hadn't played that freshman year down at Liberty, and so I asked him again. He said, "No, Coach, I'm going to go give it one more shot." I mean, that's how determined he was to make it. So he was about to go down to Liberty, and I was very frustrated. So I got on the phone and called Liberty University's coaching staff. And although they liked AJ, they could tell right away how much I wanted him to play here close to home. And the very next day, I brought AJ up to my office, and the Liberty coaching staff called and told AJ, hey, I don't know if you know, but this coach is crazy. He wants you to play here so badly that maybe you should consider it. And he didn't answer that day, but about 2 weeks later, he gave me a call and said, Coach, I want to come here and play baseball at ENC. And what it did for our program is it changed the face of our program. And Jim may talk a little bit about that too. But we then established a connection with some other players that we had recruited out of Liberty and out of their camp. And AJ coming here made it possible for us to really have the success that we had over the last 4 or 5 years here. And without him, none of that would have ever happened. And the connection with Jeb and how they actually found each other, he'll share was pretty neat. But it's my honor and privilege to be here today to take part in the induction of who I feel like is one of the most deserving players who set the tone and will go down as one of the best baseball players in the history of Eastern Nazarene College athletics, AJ Turner.
Spent most of my time down below in the lower level here in the batting cage right below us in the weight room, and that was more my dorm room, I guess, per se. Pillow and everything. I could sleep in there if they didn't lock me. I think they have to lock me out a few times, put the security on there and kick me out because I just stayed there a lot. But so one thing I just want to share is over the last 3 years, my wife and I went through a lot, paid off all our student debt, and accomplished a lot of things. But the thing that it taught me over the last 3 years was to not really focus too much on the destination, but really enjoy the journey on the way. And it just reminded me today about how even in baseball and sports, we're all concerned about results. We go 4 for 4, 0 for 4. Just looking at that stat sheet instead of kind of stepping back, taking a deep breath, and enjoying the journey of what actually brought me here. And on that note, I know this is kind of an individual award, a lot of individual statistics that go into this award, but deep down inside, I'm up here by myself, but there's a lot of people here present and not with us today that actually contributed. A lot of individuals that contributed to this individual award, and I just want to kind of thank them, thank Eastern Nazarene for this honor. It's a great honor. I'm humbled. I enjoyed my 4 years here. Had a lot of great experiences. Thank Coach A, Jeb, one of the main reasons why I'm here, and it's kind of fitting that him and I are being inducted today, the same class. One thing I kind of credit Coach A a lot with the stolen base. A lot of my stolen bases my freshman year. I forget what team we were playing, but I got on first base, and Coach A was coaching first, and he's a lot bigger guy than me. I'm a freshman. I was a lot smaller than I am now, and so didn't really want to upset him. And first thing he says to me when I get on first base, he's like, 2 pitches, I want you on third base. So, 2 pitches, I was at third base. The other person, I want to thank Coach Reed. Like he said, he was very adamant and persistent, did not give up. He is another reason why I am here. I think the year I was at Liberty, I got a phone call, text, email, something in my Liberty post box from Eastern Nazarene, from Coach Reed, saying, please come to Eastern Nazarene if we want you to play baseball here. So, but on faith, family, and future. And I'll never forget that, and to this day, that has been kind of the cornerstone of what has got me to this place. And the other thing, too, that he always would preach and tell us is the only two things that you can control is your attitude and your effort. And that's just so true. A lot of stuff, especially on the baseball field or in the other sports arenas, you can't control. You can't control, especially in baseball, you can do everything right. Hitting wise, you can hit it right on the screws, and just happens to be an attaboy right at him, and you end up making out, and then you can hit a little duck park flare, dookie snack, and it ends up dropping in. It's a line drive in the books, but you did everything wrong, but you still have the result, the success there. So I'd like to thank some of my family that's here. If it wasn't for them, I don't know, I wouldn't be in this place right now. They contribute a lot of help, came to a lot of baseball games, changed, my two older sisters here probably changed a lot of diapers for me. Yeah, I'd just like to thank them, a couple people, my wife obviously, thank her. I'm glad she said this is important to come to, instead of we came all the way up here from South Carolina for this, and I appreciate that. She was right, it's very important to be here today. And, just a couple of people, my parents, that couldn't be here today, but if it wasn't for them raising me, teaching me, this is actually where my dad would watch the baseball games here. He called it the Two Players Club. Because, he had myself and my younger brother played 2 years with me here, and Eastern Nazarene gave that opportunity, great opportunity to play 2 years with my brother, two years of college baseball here. My mom would always be, I don't think she watched the game, she would be too nervous. She'd be wandering around, and other parents would give her updates while she was hiding in the winter. I'd like to thank them for instilling a lot of the values in me that got me to this point. My grandfather, arguably probably Eastern Nazarene #1 fan, Big Mo. He probably should have his hat and his jacket wrapped up. As the #1 fan, he came to every game, kept his scorebook. I remember the one game, he would always have his chair right by the dugout, and there was one time we were up at Nichols, and if anybody's familiar with Nichols and the baseball field there's a lot of hills. You go up the hill, down hills all around it, and so my grandfather had his chair right by the dugout, and it was tipped over. He wasn't in the chair, and one of our teammates were all concerned. They're pointing out, I was like, "Where's Big Mo? Where's Big Mo?" And apparently he had fallen out of his chair. It was always, he wasn't in his spot, so there everybody was he was always there. Howard, he might have got there before we got to games, especially on road games, but he was always waiting for us. Again, just thank you all for being here. It's a great honor. I think I rambled a little bit too long. I got a week 7 minutes, but thank you again.
You were saying some words there that sounded like a different language, but I'm assuming that those guys back there, the baseball players, maybe understood some of that, so I hope they do. Our next inductee is also a highly decorated baseball player, having received all CCC honors in all 4 years, twice on second team and twice on first team. Jeremy is also the program leader with 15 career home runs and holds 6 other career totals that are in the top 10 program records. Once again, I ask Coach Todd Reed to come forward and share some thoughts about Jeremy. While he was not Jeremy's college coach, Jeremy served with Todd from 1999 to 2008 as an assistant with the baseball team.
Usually people are nervous when we're up here here together. But I didn't get a chance to coach Jeb, but I knew right away that one of the things that made him special was how great of a baseball player he was. He would come back. We didn't have a very big roster my first year here. And so I wanted to scrimmage in the fall, so we bring Jeremy back. He had graduated the year before, and he was easily our best player, whether he hit from his traditional right-handed side or if he would just adopt a left-handed hitting style for the day and hit lefty. He was our best player no matter what. And I know from talking to Coach Mark DeMichael, who thought the world of Jeb, that Mark said he was the best player he had ever coached. He was in the top 10 in batting average his senior year in the nation. He was hitting over 500 going into their postseason. I think he tried to hit a few too many home runs in the tournament, but just an incredible career. But the reason why Jeb is so special to me, and I mentioned this, is these two guys changed the program's history, but they also changed my life for me and my family. You know, you make a commitment to, we're not married, but we make a commitment to marry somebody. It's for a long time, and Wendy and I have been together for 25 years. But in my 23 years of coaching, I've never had an assistant coach for more than 2, except for Jeb. So that probably says a lot about me. But 9 years he stayed with me, and he's one of the most loyal people that that I could have ever asked for. And he did 2 things. One, his knowledge of the game to this day, without any formal coaching training. And I say that because I was his head coach. He didn't have any training for me. I was 24 when I got the job here, and it was really just from his base of playing and his love for the game. But to this day, he's probably the most knowledgeable baseball person that I know. And I'll still call him and ask him stuff 23 years later about what he thinks we should do or what he's teaching today. He continues to be a part of youth baseball. And just one of the best minds that I've ever been around in the game. You could watch a game and really predict what pitches were going to be thrown, what offense or defenses we're going to do. And he did that for our guys. But far more important than that was his heart for our players. And I was thinking about this weekend, that one of the moments that I'll never forget is we went on our southern trip, and we used to go to a Nazarene church in Fort Myers, and Pastor Joey Brummett was the pastor. And he would ask us if we ever wanted to speak, and one year in particular, Jeb said, so there's something on my heart. And he just got up and shared his testimony and kind of some things that had been going on in his life. And I had a player, Matt Watson, among many, tell me, Coach, that was the most real thing that ever happened to me as a player, as a person. And that's where his heart was, to be able to not just share with them the game, but to share with them a love for God and what a relationship with Christ looked like. And so those are the things that he did for the program. For me, the fact that I'm coaching still today is really about these 2 guys, and in particular somebody that coached with me for 9 years and changed me and my family. So congratulations.
Well, I am my mother's son. I'll try to keep it dry. Just try. Thank you so much to Brad and all the folks at UNC that made this possible. This is truly an honor. Very humbling to be up here accepting this award for playing the game. Thank you to my parents. I kind of want to go through a little bit of a journey. We'll make it a short journey because I know we're going to get this through this. My mom ended up working as a secretary at UNC, and that's the reason I came. The tuition price was really great for employees, and I was a really, really, really good soccer player. And my brother played soccer at ENC, so I did not want to do what he was doing, and probably my dad was not happy about that. But that was the choice. So in the fall, guys were just throwing baseballs around. I hadn't played baseball in probably 3 years. I was 5'3" as a junior in high school, so I was a late sprouter. What does my son say? Late to ripen, or early to ripen, early to rot. So I don't even quite care. Anyways, so I chose to play play baseball, and the first year I got there, the coach was Coach Willie, who's here. Coach Jack Willie. So Coach Jack Willie took over in like 1990 as an interim coach, and I got there in 1993, 94, so that's a pretty long interim status. But, wanted to share a couple of stories about baseball. So Coach took us to Florida. I had no idea this was going to happen. I just wanted to play something, so I decided to play baseball. And he took us to Florida. And Coach is really good with the dollar. He really understands the value of the dollar. So he decided that when we arrived in Florida off the plane, we were going to take public transportation everywhere. So because of that, we didn't really have a van to like drive and get stuff. And we arrived in Miami, and we were playing in Homestead, which was probably an hour and a half from Miami anyways. Super hot that time of year. Anyways, he sent Deanne Josephic, who was I think a junior at the time, and he asked him, hey, you need to go out and get some Gatorades for tomorrow because it's going to be really hot. And so he's like, all right, where do I go? He's like, oh, I think there's a convenience store like 3 doors down. And so Deanne's like, Jeremy, can you come with me? I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. So we started walking, and first set of lights, it was like 3 cops, no people, 3 cops. Okay, whatever. Next set of lights, 3 cops, no people. We get to the convenience store, we get into the convenience store, and there's an entire SWAT team of police. So we asked the convenience store person, what's the deal? He goes, oh, you're in one of the most dangerous places in Miami. So quickly got that Gatorade and left. But what I appreciated about Coach Willie as a coach, not only that he understood the value of the dollar, but he really loved us. He was the kindest, and still is one of the kindest men that I know. He's employed my son. He and I go fishing from time to time still, and we actually went to a Red Sox game even a month ago. So I appreciate the fact that I've been able to continue this relationship with him as we get older. But Coach Willie I only had him for coach for 1 year. They ended up replacing him with a full-time coach, Coach Mark DeMichael, and man, was he tough. Coach Willie was awesome, really fun. Coach DeMichael was, you guys are going to win. And not that Coach Willie didn't want to win, but that was the #1 reason Mark was here. And I just wanted to share one story. So I don't know about you guys, but occasionally I used to skip a class. Every once in a while. So I had a professor named Al Sachi, and he was the nicest guy in the world. Well, I think it was my junior year, Mark DeMichael somehow was able to finagle getting our baseball team to go to Florida a week before spring break. So can you imagine the hoops he had to go through to talk to the professors and get clearance from Job B and all this, right? So it was like 2 days before we were about to leave, and my friend Mark Scott and I were watching Lois and Jim Knox's house. They used to have me sleep over, so none of the kids would steal anything. I don't know, but we loved doing it, and we watched a movie till like 2 in the morning or something, and we had an 8 o'clock class with Al Sachi, and we kind of woke up around 8, and we were like, he won't care. Let's just sleep through this. So anyways, we get to practice that day, and at the very end of the practice, coach says, all right, I know there's a couple of you that skipped the class this morning, and we are being given a privilege to leave early. So you guys either get on the line and run 10 suicides, whatever, probably 20. I know I was almost puking. So Mark and I look at each other like, I don't think Al Sachi would do that. You know, he's not like that. So we get on the line, and as soon as he says, go, we start running, and sure enough, Chris Herrick and Steve Alboni are running next to us. Definitely wasn't Al Sachi. But, you know, that's how Mark was. And Mark was a great guy. There's a college around here called the Mass College of Pharmacy. And for those of you who don't know baseball lingo, going yard, hitting a home run. My nickname was Jet. So I got up against Mass College of Pharmacy. I think I was a senior. And I'm hitting. I'm in my stance. And, peanut gallery on the bench goes, hey, Jeb, 9 out of 10 pharmacists recommend you go yard right now. How do you hit? So, Anyways, had a great career as a player. I totally loved it. We made it pretty far my senior year. We made it to the conference final game. We lost 5-4 to Curry, who was an excellent team at the time, and just barely. I'm not going to say who was pitching that game. We may or may not have given up a grand slam in the eighth. I know the only picture I could find of me was me pitching, but I was definitely more of a hitter than a pitcher. All right, so I feel like I'm here for two reasons, not just as a player, but also as a coach. And really, honestly, playing was fun, but coaching was amazing. I mean, to be able to help mold young men's lives, which is a fantastic experience. Once you're done, think about it. Think about it. So, talking about A.J. Turner, man, what an amazing player he was. And just quickly on his, one of the reasons he came to ENC is my wife, Joy, who, I'm so thankful for her. I put on my notes, she gave me we dated here through school. We actually started dating before school. No pressure to marry. No pressure to marry. What a great girlfriend. ENC. She was like, we're going to have a good time as students here, and we're not going to worry about getting married. We didn't even talk about it. It was amazing. Meanwhile, all these other people get married as freshmen. I know, probably some of you guys are married, right? I won, you didn't. All right, anyways, you'll make it through. So anyways, AJ, my wife's uncle, had invited me to play church softball with him on a number of times. He lived in Foxborough, and I was like, I don't play church softball. It's too far away, whatever. But finally, it just kind of worked out. I was living in Mansfield, so it wasn't that bad a drive. Kind of worked out, and I played. And when I was there, when you're small talk to people, like, oh, what do you do? All that kind of stuff. And I was like, I work for Bank of America, and I also coach at ENC. Assistant coach there. Like, oh, then you must know A.J. Turner. Nope, never heard of him. No, he's like the best player around here. He's a super awesome family, great Christian family. It's like, how can I get a hold of him? So that was how we started the process of recruiting A.J. Turner. So man, you're gonna get into sales someday. You just never know. You never know, right? Anyway, so AJ's an amazing player. Now, Coach Reed, at some point, needs to be up here because this guy is a Hall of Famer. What I appreciated about Coach Reed was he truly selflessly loved these kids. His house was on the right field line. It was open. It was not only open to baseball players, it was open to all athletes. Anytime you needed to come talk, whatever. He truly understood God's love. And God's love is different than what the world defines as love. The world is defining love now as just kind of sensual, whatever. Love. That's not love. That's fleeting. And God's love has two components. It's grace, but it's also conviction. It's conviction of wrongdoing. And I was reading a little bit in John chapter 13 about right before Jesus is preparing to die, he's washing his disciples' feet to teach them this is how we are supposed to lead. Lead as selfless people, not as masters sort of lead slaves. He's drawing the comparison. That's how the world can lead with a fist, right? But no, we need to lead by selflessly caring for them. And so, but Todd kept the guys accountable. If they were doing something wrong, he called them out on it. Just like Jesus called out the woman at the well. No, what you're doing is wrong. Jesus pointed us out. So Jesus is the lion and the lamb, right? So anyways, I learned so much just watching him work with players like you guys and just care so much for these guys. And even when they did do what's wrong, after calling them out, he absolutely would graciously help them through whatever situation they got themselves into. Because college kids are going to get in trouble. All right? It's just going to happen. Well, how do we react to that as leaders to help them get through these troubled times? All right, anyways, I'm thankful for Paul McElroy. I've been coaching with Paul. He's a Weymouth guy. I coached my kids now, and Paul is just, man, he's a coach's coach. He loves baseball. Paul's back here in the Weemus shirt, so I love Paul. Chris Delisle is also sitting next to him. Chris, I played baseball with Chris in 1997. One semester he came in here, and he's a great friend. One semester. This is how ENC works, right? Chris is just an incredibly great friend of mine. He's super knowledgeable in the game of baseball. He understands that coaching is more psychology than X's and O's. That's the truth. You gotta love your kids. Finally, I just wanted to bring up a quick story for you guys, just to let you know what it means to be a teammate. And when you're done, these are the things you remember. You don't remember, where your home runs went, how many hits you had, and all that stuff. Somebody else brought it. I couldn't remember any of it. They put it all to work. But my wife's Uncle Peter is probably one of the nicest guys in the world. We were playing golf. It was about 10 years ago or so. And he's horrible. I mean, he must have shot 200. Played golf before, and that's really bad. And we got done, and I was like, Uncle Peter, I don't know how you do it. Because if I go over 100, I'm a maniac. That's just not good. And he said, Jeremy, my dad taught me this a long time ago. Golf is not about how you play, it's about who you're playing with. So he was happy the whole time, even though he would be swinging and missing. He was happy that whole time because he was with me. And as you go through your careers, remember that. Remember that, the guys around you matter more than how good you are. The guys around you matter how more than how you even play as a team. When all is said and done, all we have is people, right? That's what God has called us to be as ambassadors for Him, for other people. So I love ENC. I loved every minute of it. I appreciate this honor, but really AJ summed it up great. This isn't about me. This is about all the people that I've been able to interact with and know and grow with over the years. And I probably am not speaking for myself here. All the other Inductees of Christ think the same way. So anyways, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Sorry about my lack of keeping 7 minutes.
Way over.
Good job, Jeremy.
Melissa Christmas's accomplishments as an individual and a member of one of the most successful teams in ENC athletic history are impressive. Over her career, she scored 1,051 points and grabbed over 800 rebounds. As a senior, she garnered the CCC Women's Basketball Player of the Year award. That season, she helped lead the basketball team to a CCC championship to earn an automatic bid to the NCAA Division III tournament. That team went on to the Sweet 16, an achievement unmatched by any of ENC's teams since moving to Division III. While I could go on, hearing from Melissa about her experience at ENC and the journey she has been on since that time will be more interesting to all of us. Melissa,
It is truly humbling to be up here today. When Brad asked at the beginning for other Hall of Fame inductees, so please stand. I was like, well, yes, I can stand up because my team's up there. So when I got the message from Kim almost a year ago, earlier this year, about getting into the Hall of Fame again, I said, are you sure? I was like, I'm already in, like there's what's going on. But I think back to my time at ENC, coming in as a freshman, I was cocky, which every good athlete should be, right? You should be a little cocky. I was confident in my abilities and quickly found out that it wasn't just about me, but it was about my team. Going even further back as a freshman in high school, before I started my high school freshman year, I was in the gym shooting hoops, and my high school coach just happened to walk by, and she looked at me, she goes, are you coming here in the fall? And I said, yeah. She goes, okay, make sure you play basketball. I said, okay, yeah, sure, not a big deal. And then I found out my math teacher that freshman year was the women's basketball coach here, Amy Detwine. And so she made a comment to my coach and said, hey, make sure Melissa looks at ENC when she gets older. And so, my coach Irene, she pushed me, he was like, hey, why don't you check out ENC, why don't you check out ENC? And I was a multi-sport athlete. I played soccer, I played basketball, and I played softball. And I had opportunity to go somewhere else as a scholarship athlete. And I remember going out to dinner with my high school coach and saying, I don't know. And she said, well, have you prayed about it? I said, yeah. She said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to be in a place that's, not too far from home, but I also want to be a place where I'm going to be able to grow as a believer. Like, that was really important to me. I didn't want to be in a location where I didn't have that support system. So, ENC checked off all those boxes. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll come. And I came here, and freshman year, Amy started me as a point guard, which I never played. I was like, sure. She's like, you can handle the ball, go ahead. And I said, okay. My sophomore year, we had a new coach, James Stutzman, and kind of like Coach DeMarco, he was a hard-nosed guy. Like, he walked in, there was no smile on his face. We're all trying to guess how old he really is. We're like, has anybody seen his license? How old is this guy? He had worked under, it was Bobby Huggins, right? Worked under him when he was in high school and starting out his coaching career. And he moved me from a 1 to a 4. And I stand at all 5 foot 6 inches of myself, playing a small forward. And I was like, what is going on? But he really pushed me. He pushed me to be a better athlete. He pushed me to be a better student. He really just dug in deep and was like, okay, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. I need you to do this. But even more so, it was the players that I got to work with, my teammates. For every athlete that's in here, you understand that you alone can only do so much. It's your team who really supports you. I had teammates like Tony Cabillion who would not relent. When I mean would not relent, I mean in my face constantly when I had the ball in my hands, just making sure that I knew every move on that court. How was I going to get around it? She pushed me hard. I had teammates like Elisa Delgado, who, when I moved down to a 4, her hands were all over me because guess what? When you're a forward, you're constantly getting hacked. It just happens like that. I had teammates like Jody Gardner, who I knew wherever she was on that floor, I could get the ball to her. Excuse me. But, I look back on those times and I think, man, I wouldn't be where I was today if it wasn't for those other women that I got to play with. So, athletes, remember your teammates. Excuse me. I'm gonna water really quick, please. Remember your teammates. Remember that you are only there because of what they're doing for you. Quick story. It had to have been maybe junior or senior year. I think it was junior year. Man, I had too much coffee this morning. We were playing against a team we had lost. We should not have lost. We had a bunch of turnovers and just missed box out assignments. I'm so sorry, I'm tickling my throat. Missed all these assignments, and Coach Stutzman brought us downstairs to the film room, made us watch the film, and we all had to take notes. How many missed box outs? Okay, Christmas, every box out you missed, you're running a suicide for it. Gardner, every turnover you have, you're running a suicide. I think I ran 22 suicides. That was our practice. We ran suicides, and it was just go. Come in, come to the gym, do your time. But it wasn't so much the fact that we had to run the suicides, it was the fact that he was trying to instill in us that we had assignments. We had jobs that we needed to do. People were counting on us. My missed box out allows the other team to score. Gardner's missed a turnover, her bad pass. It allows the other team to score. It ends up hurting the team as a whole. And he was trying to instill that in us. And so that one practice I can remember, man, I never want to have to run that many suicides again. Never. So from that point on, I made sure that when I boxed out, I sat and I pushed. To the point that I had one girl tell me, man, you're literally just bruising my thigh. And I said, well, that's my job. I'm sorry, I don't want to run. But so many great times here. Scoring 1,000 points, that was awesome. Making it to the NCAA tournament was awesome. But it was the times off the court too with my teammates. It was the times of watching videos in somebody's room, hanging out, catching up. just really developing that relationship. That meant so much more to me than being out on the court, scoring as many points as I could, or getting as many rebounds as I could. It was those relationships that I built. I'm thankful to my parents who, you know, got me here. You know, my mom was like, hey, go where you feel like God's leading you. My dad one year ended up paying my tuition bill because I didn't have any more student loans I could get. There was no more grants, and my dad said, hey, I've got it. He wrote a check to ENC and done. You know, it's those little things that they did. My brother, who was my biggest fan here, to the point that somebody came up to me and said, hey, who's that guy in the stands yelling, hey, check out number 5, you gotta see that girl, check her out, check her out, check her out. They were like, who is that guy? And I said, like, that's my brother. You know, it's those times that I remember, and I'm so humbled, Brad, and so honored to be in a class of incredible inductees, to be another female athlete that gets inducted into a Hall of Fame. It doesn't happen as often as we'd like. For all you female athletes that are out there, keep pushing. You know, don't quit. Don't let somebody tell you, well, you're just a girl. You're not. You're a young woman. You're a force to be reckoned with. You have abilities. Keep pushing for them. Keep striving for those goals. You know, don't let somebody tell you you can't, or you shouldn't, or you're just. You're not. Thank you very much.
So I'm delivering a personal message to Gary Calhoun from Ron Mazza. Gary, sorry I cannot attend this event in person, but congratulations to a great teammate and friend for life. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. It is well deserved. Ron Mazza from Lisbon, Portugal. At this time, I'll ask Matt and Mo to come forward and share some thoughts about Dr. Gary Calhoun as our next inductee into the Hall of Fame.
Good morning. I'm Matt. I'm Mo. We were here in the early 70s. Some of us were here for the late 70s.
That would be me. I don't think my professors thought I would ever leave. So
This is our first collaboration together in 45 years. We used to write a column in the campus newspaper called Matt and Mo Sports Spectrum, and our boss was a guy named Greg Inlet. The newspaper for you young kids is like a blog.
okay, we're here today to honor our friend Gary, aka Hog. We all call him Hog, Sweat Hog, and speak on his behalf. It's both an honor and a privilege. There are 3 specific Gary Calhoun quotes we will reference in our short time here.
Now, we first became aware of Gary Calhoun in our high school years. Now, in addition to being a great athlete, Gary has some talents that you may not know about. He actually had a lead vocal in a special musical at the Whetstone Nazarene Church called Life. Gary's heart-moving portrayal of a somewhat down-on-life, dejected teen was nothing short of spectacular.
Remember, he asked us to do this. Okay, the mood he created was best exemplified by quote number 1, his now famous line,
Repeat if you know what the line is.
life is like a bowl of cherries, and I get all the pits. Gary is here today because of keen athletic skills that drew him into the sports of soccer and tennis at ENC, along with distance running, hoops, golf, and touch football. His versatility and natural athletic prowess was special.
Now, unknown to most of you until today, Hog also became an amateur sumo wrestler. With Mo, but that's another story.
By the way, when we played hoops, Hog and another friend of ours named Chuck Alley, who was one of the original Bricks, pretended to be an the NBA Seattle guard duo, Gus Johnson and pre-Celtic Dennis Johnson. I was never sure which you preferred, but he was forever yelling, Gus and DJ, yes.
Seriously though, numbers never lie, and Gary was certainly a great Crusader soccer player, but it came at a price. He put in serious time in the weight room, as well as getting a great workout painting houses in the summer with Steve Schaff and Ron Bradley. He played a lot of local soccer, which continues to this day.
He plays at 100% all the time. In fact, his drive has cost him 2 broken legs. We were there to witness the first one. More about that in a minute. Hogg took his position as ENC sports icon seriously. There is 2 Gary quotes we felt needed to be vetted carefully.
So we went to the finest ENC historic scholar not named Dr. James Cameron. That would be Dr. Donald Yerxa, Professor Emeritus, also known as Dirt. And that brings us to the next quote.
More than once we heard Gary utter the now famous and often quoted line, "Pound for pound, I am the toughest ENC athlete ever." Since Gary weighed less than 75 pounds, so perhaps this wasn't that much of a compliment. Nonetheless, Hogg made sure to repeat it often.
However, we must admit, we never heard him repeat those words in the presence of Steve Schaff. Quote number 3. Dirt thought it best not to speak of the aforementioned broken legs, but for all who were there for the first one, it's seared in our memories, never to be forgotten.
Time stopped for us all that fateful summer night when he was playing summer soccer, and some have forgotten the crap heard around the world when he collided with an opponent, probably because the next thing we heard was Gary scream, "I broke my leg, it's broke like heck."
How many of you believe he said heck? As with most gifted athletes, Gary got his start at home trying to outplay his older sister, Sue, who beat him mercilessly in most sports, from what I understand from talking to the family. This might have discouraged other children, but not Hogg. He simply took out his frustration on his little brother.
Dr. Yerxa had this to say about that. Some of you may not know this, but for years Gary was burdened by the fact that his kid brother Randy's framed soccer photo hung in the lower hallway lobby of Lakeview. Randy was a serviceable soccer player who had scored a couple of goals at his ENC career. This galled Gary to no end. Since from the day he graduated, he saw himself as a first ballot ENC Hall of Famer. Gary, you weren't on the first ballot, but at least now you've gotten the recognition that has been denied you for decades.
Finally, Gary is not the first Calhoun member to go into the Hall, as we've heard earlier. He's preceded by his niece Jody and his wife Janet, the first woman ever in the ENC Hall of Fame. That Mo used to date Janet.
Yes, Gary, she liked me first. I'd just like to add one thing. After my sophomore year, my mom passed away, and the Calhoun family was basically took me in like another one of their kids. I spent a lot of holidays and Sunday afternoon lunches at the Calhoun home. Gary was like a brother to me. And it's friends like Gary. We're part of a group called the Bricks. Yeah. My dearest friends in life are my friends that I made here at ENC. I just can't, I tell people that all the time. My college friends are my dearest friends. And Gary, congratulations.
What can I say? So we had lots of fun, right? It was just 4 years of laughing and playing and having fun and enjoying playing soccer with your teammates, and your buddies were always there. We pulled for each other. I just remember it as this time of real connection. So much fun. Such an honor. Brad and committee, thanks so much. It means a lot to be in the Carol Bradley Hall of Fame. New Brad, well, I coached with Brad and certainly Nancy for them, and that was great. My buddy Steve is there. I was 115 pounds, wanting to try out for soccer, and he said, get out on the field with me, and we spent every night in the summer for years, right? Out there banging away until I could stand up with the bigger guys. So I appreciate that. But just had a great time with all of my soccer buddies, my coaches, and just you can see the friendships we had. And I love homecoming. We come out. So have a great day today. Enjoy homecoming day. It was so much fun. Get out there, enjoy yourself, have fun. It's great to be young. I'm 65 and still trying to play it. Oh, I'd love to be young again. Enjoy today. It's great to have fun on homecoming day. So man and women soccer, enjoy your day. All right, thank you.
I should make mention that the Hall of Fame committee does include his wife. Who was there? Our final inductee today is Mike Barefoot, a 4-year player that ranks 5th all-time on the men's basketball scoring list with 1,773 points. Mike's consistency over his career are a narrative I have heard since I arrived 4 years ago. His senior year capped an already impressive career, scoring 19 points per game, shooting 90.7% from the charity stripe, and being named to the NCAA All-American second team in 77-78. Mike's success was even noticed by the legendary sports writer Bob Ryan, that is known not only by Boston area sports fans, but all of us who follow sports, and we welcome his presence here today. Bob Ryan. Michael Barefoot.
With Bob Ryan here, like, Dr. Worcester, Brad, committee, fellow inductees, friends, family, guests. Welcome. Thank you for being here. First off, I want to introduce my wife of 41 years. We weren't freshmen when we got married. We did get married before my senior year. My son Zach, my son Josh. My sister Beth, my niece Meredith, my nephew Griffin, and Booker. A while back, somebody asked me why I came to ENC. 600 miles from home, no internet, no cell phone, one collect phone call per week home. Maybe going home from Virginia Beach, going home maybe twice a year. I went because of my brother Jim. My brother Jim is 15 years older than I and came here. He played basketball. He would tell me stories of Donald Young and Jay Glenn Gould, Bertha Monroe, Jack Smith, Ray Baltz, Jerry McCloy. You know him as Digger now. Yeah. Merritt Man, Coach Bradley, and playing in the barn. I came to NC because of my sister Beth. She's 2 years older than me, and I love hearing her stories about acapella choir, Ann Kimmel, Ron Bradley, Steve Shaw, of being a cheerleader here, and life around Boston. I came to NC because of my friends from the Virginia district, Bobby Neff, Donnie and Casey Yates, Cheryl Berkey, Janet Smith. I came because of the ENC summer work teams. Folks, that works. It's important. People like Noah Tharp, Bud Reedy, Warren Holloway, Cal Levine, Don Heckman, Dan Music, Kurt Shetler, Bruce Granger, Bob Shaw, and Dick Pritchard. I came to ENC because of Crusader Camp, Long Lake Acres, Maine. I met Coach Jim Smith, Howie Briggs, Dan Zink, Mark Sanford, David Rouse, Jim Flinner, Mike Sheen, and all of them. And once I arrived in August of '74, I started gathering my own stories. A story of freshman orientation week. You don't have that anymore, right? Red and white beanies. And going through the gauntlet of nastiness and vileness that I'll never forget. I also remember Tim Lanham coming up to me at the end of that, shaking my hand and saying, "Welcome to ENC." I remember my first game as a freshman. The old Boston Garden. Bagpiper Classic against Gordon College. Starting lineup that night, Jerry Whetstone, Howie Briggs, Dan Zink, Mike Cox, and Gordy Wetmore. Don't ask me why I remember that. I remember Coach Smith and his offense. The wheel. He described it as a motion offense with a premium on 15 to 18-foot jump shots. Yeah, I'm gonna like that. I remember Digger McCoy, who taught me small nuances about rebounding and positioning. He tried to teach me about defense, but it didn't take. I remember our first game after Christmas break. We played Rhode Island College in the Providence Civic Center. Coach Smith told me before the game that I was going to start my first game in college. That was pretty cool. But even more important to me was that Dan Zink, a senior, I was replacing. I was a snot-nosed guy with horn-rimmed glasses, and Dan Zink, a senior, came up to me before the game and congratulated me. I haven't forgotten that. I remember our annual trips to play King's College in Nyack. King's College gym was straight out of Hoosiers. Small, dark, dank, and filled to the rafters. The fans had their toes on the sideline, and they hated us. That was cool. I remember February 15th, 1977. We were on our way to, was then University of Maine, Pogo, Portland, Oregon. It's now University of Southern Maine. February 15th, we crested a hill on the Maine Turnpike. We hit a patch of ice. I was in the front band, seated in the first bench row. Hit the ice, we went up on the median, flipped on our tops. Band behind us hit the ice, touched their brakes. They slid. I'm on my back, spinning. All right, we're slowing down. We're slowing down. We're going faster. We're going faster. We get out. What in the world happened? Everybody's okay. Ron Bradley has a cut on his head. That was the major injury, cuts and bruises. What had happened was, we were going, hit the snowbank, flipped on our top, van behind us, spun on their tires, hit us, that's why we sped back up. We went left, they went right, tractor trailer right through the middle. We had one of our managers, G. Michael Miller, legally blind. Read like this. He was sitting to my left on the bench. Found out 2 or 3 days later, when we hit, he was thrown out over me, out the doors, was sliding on the interstate, looked up, saw the lights from the tractor trailer, dove into the snowbank. True story. The Lord was with us. We didn't play that. But something special also about that night was, again, before the internet, before cell phones, February 15th, I'd already made my phone call home to my girlfriend. My best friend from high school, the same night, was killed in a train car accident in South Carolina. Debbie's looking in the paper the next day for the article about his accident. I saw the article about our accident. I hadn't called her yet. So my best friend in high school was killed that night. I remember King's Tournament. I feel so bad for you guys that you don't have King's Tournament anymore. This was March Madness, the Super Bowl, and the World Series all rolled up. A gathering of 8 Christian schools from all over the Northeast, vying for the Percy Trophy. Vying for this trophy. It was ping pong, it was basketball, it was volleyball, it was chess, it was quartet, it was cross country, it was everything. 8 Christian schools, all in Christian harmony. It was 7 against 1. It was 7 against 1. We had the bullseye on us every year. All 4 years, we won that trophy. 3 of the 4 years, we won the basketball tournament. So, again, highlight of the year, guys. King's Tournament was just amazing. I'm sorry you didn't get to experience that. I remember guys like Henry Constantine, Marion James, Professor Babcock, Colonel Saunders. I remember Dean Helfrich, Carl Windrow, Alan Gray, Dr. McCumber, and many, many others. I thank them for their friendships, their guidance, and their love of Christ. I remember meeting Matt Enlow. Guys like Harry Girding, Jimmy Capodanno, who was like that in college. Guys like Ron Alquist, Gary Blanks, Richie Simons, David Willoughby. I remember Barney Smith. Yeah. I remember E. Nazarene C. That was a pep talk Mo gave us before King's Tournament one year. I remember an offensive rebound and put back Richard Scarce had in the finals of King's Tournament. Why do I remember this? I don't know. I probably does. I remember Jerry Whetstone hitting the game winner at my first King's Tournament. I'm thankful for ENC. You changed my life. And you steered me to Jesus Christ. Again, I'm humbled and being inducted into Carolina Bradley Hall of Fame. Ron Bradley called me yesterday morning and left me a message. He said, Foot, he said, I'm so proud of you to be inducted into my father's Hall of Fame. I thought it was pretty cool. Thank you very much.
currently speaking into the lives of our athletes. And I thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this new family of ours. My wife, my children, my son, who is a senior at Quincy High School, has already committed to come to ENC and play for Step Polish program. 6 months ago, he told my wife and myself that he would never go to school across the street from his house. This place has a way of getting underneath your skin in all of the good ways that analogy works. So thank you for all of those comments throughout today. I would ask that a couple things. One, you'll notice that the look of the plaques this year is different than the plaques that are mounted for our individual award winners. We are actually transitioning all of the plaques to this look in part because I noticed that the plaques don't actually say Eastern Nazarene College on it anywhere. And I thought maybe the Hall of Fame plaque should actually have our name of our institution on it, but also the ability for that to also match with our team inductee, the teams that have been inducted. And so we will actually be making new plaques for all of our previous ones and then installing those with the rest of the greats that have played here at ENC. I'd ask all 6 of the inductees to please come forward, and as they do, give them one more round of applause. visit. We have all those teams support our current athletes, enjoy each other's company, take pictures, please, with family, friends, and this group is amazing to join all of those others that are already inducted into the Carroll F. Bradley Hall of Fame. Thank you for your attendance and your support.